Welcome to the den, everyone. And today I will be doing a fun video. This video, I'm going to be doing the first four teams, how I think they're going to plan to attack us offensively and defensively, based off the stats in the past and their current team and players and coaches. So we'll start with the San Francisco 49ers. The last 2 years, they have been very run-heavy, having two running backs with over 100 rushing attempts, and Jake McKinnon even nearly having 100. In total, they had 437 rushing attempts. Their 570 passing attempts. If we go to 2019, their regular season, they once again were a heavy rushing team. They had 498 rushing attempts compared to their 478 passing attempts. They were a run-first team heavily, and I think they'll continue to do that. Even though Jimmy Garoppolo, the starting QB, is going to play the same year, this is the same year that they had even more rushing attempts in 2019. Of course, they will not be running every single play, but it's definitely going to be their main plan. Their defense, on the other hand, when it was in 2019, was a stout D-line. I do not think they're going to be having the same defensive plan in 2019. They had a great D-line containing Arik Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Solomon Thomas, Dee Ford, Nick Bosa. It was a good D-line. But now that D-line has been reduced to Dee Ford, Arik Armstead, and Nick Bosa, Dee Ford, and Arik Armstead. And Arik Armstead proved he was not the same player he was in 2019, and not even playing anywhere close to his level, and Dee Ford still have injury issues. The only player who's actually consistently still good, supposedly still good, is Nick Bosa, who had 9 sacks that year and led one of the league's in pressures. Javon Kinlaw was a bust last year. DJ Jones really hasn't done anything. Maurice Hurst I do like, but has health concerns. Their linebacker core is still fantastic with Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, and Samson Beckham. Their cornerback core is questionable. Only after Jason Barrett, the rest of the cornerbacks do not look all that good. The safety core is good with Tartan Ward, but Ward is the only player who really is fantastic. I think their plan of attack for offense, like I said, run heavy and have some explosive plays with Deebo Samuel, Ayuk, and Kittle. But I do think they might be a bit more pass heavy than they were in 2019, considering the fact they do have Ayuk and Samuel and Kittle healthy now, and maybe even with having Mohamed Sanu, who is one of Shanahan's favorite players. Defensively, I think they'd probably still try to play similar to 2019, but I feel like they'll be a lot more focused on their linebackers, such as Samson Beckham, to help get pass rush. And I don't know, I just don't think the 49ers will actually have that great of a defense due to their pass rush. But we shall see. In 2020, the Packers' plan would have to look at last year. But I think maybe a gooder example might be 2019. But if we look at their team, last year they focused heavily on Davante Adams for their passing attack, for everything but red zone. The only red player who was prioritizing the red zone was Robert Tonyan. Marcus Scantling was used in deep passing situations, but other than that, he wasn't really used all that often. Of course, I think it will change a bit, but my biggest concern is that that's just how it's going to be. I mean, they didn't really get anyone else other than Amari Rodgers, who I think will be used in the Randall Cobb role. But my biggest problem with them is the fact that they're going to have to be relying on Jordan Love. Jordan Love is now their new quarterback. Considering that Aaron Rodgers does not look like that he's going to be playing right now. And I'm not a big fan of Jordan Love, and I think they're kind of playing a bit more safe considering the fact how raw Jordan Love is. His senior season at Utah State was not all that good, and Tim Boyle started over him. So we all know he's a bit of a question mark right now. Defensively, the team does have some good players. Adrian Amos, they have Kirktree. Well, they used to have Kirktree, but they have Kenny Clarks, the Smith brothers, Sean Gary. And so it's definitely a situation that they have that's really good there. And if we look at their depth chart, let's look what they got now compared to last year. They did let go of Jamal Williams, and now they're going to be focusing more on A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, which is nice. I think that's a good combo. But Davante Adams and Amari Rodgers are going to be the main receiver guys with, I think, Scantling as the deep threat. Robert Tonyan will continue to be a red zone blocker kind of guy, and their line will continue to be good. But if we look at their defense, I'm not a huge fan of Dean Lowry. Kenny Clark is their only good D lineman in my opinion. Preston Smith, the Smith brothers are good players, but one of them did actually kind of have a regression year, so we'll see if he continues to regress. Kamal Martin, I think, is a pretty solid linebacker, and I think these Barnes is pretty good, and so is Campbell. The cornerback core with Jair Alexander, Kevin King, and Eric Sosa is pretty dang solid, even having a good player in Shamar Jean Charles in there, who I like in the draft process. Adrian Ramos and Darnell Savage is good and honestly one of the best safety duos in the NFL. And don't even forget they still have Josh Jackson. So who knows, maybe he can finally develop into something. But in total, I think the Packers' plan of attack is going to be with Jordan Love, heavy run game, and that's why they brought in Dillon. Dillon's a big power back, and I think having these two running backs, it's going to be a lot more run heavy again. I think the league's kind of moving towards a more run heavy, but I think we're going to see a lot more play action involved with the Packers as zero Jordan Love. I think having the deep threat of Marcus Vandal-Scantling and having kind of the more Randall Cobb-like player in Amari Rodgers and Adams can just do everything. It's going to be a different offense this year, and I think it can still be good. In total, I think that's just going to be their plan of attack. For the Baltimore Ravens, if we look at them statistically, they have been the heaviest run team in the league the last 2 years. They had more rushing attempts than passing attempts. They had 555 rushing attempts, three players of over 100 rushing attempts, and Mark Ingram nearly had 100 rushing attempts, even despite playing 11 games. They were as heavy as they could possibly get, to be honest. But they have said they're going to try running more. Passing more. And let's look at what they got. They drafted Rashad Bateman, signed Sammy Watkins, and they still have Marquise Brown, and they also drafted Tylan Wallace. They also have Mark Andrews. Those are some pretty good weapons. And in my opinion, this is no excuse here for Lamar as a passer. He has himself good weapons. He has himself an improved O-line with Villanueva, Zeitler, and Ben Cleveland additions. And yeah, I think this is really like the year for him to prove he's a good passer. And I think they're going to be playing still heavy run. I do not think they're going to change that. Lamar, and the reason their offense has had success is the run game, not the pass game. I don't think they're just going to abandon that just because of some critics on social media saying LOL, RB, RB. It's just going to be Lamar being him, I guess. I think they're going to start throwing a bit more. I think you're going to see maybe a bit higher passing attempts in his game. But I'm going to be honest, I don't like Rashad Bateman and Lamar Jackson combo. Most of Lamar's guys have been yards after the catch that have had success. The guys who've been possessive receiver, like Michael Crabtree, have not had success. And Sammy Watkins is only really good for like that one game, I guess. I do like Tylan Wallace, and I do like Marquise Brown. You know, Marquise Brown does have the drop issues. Mark Andrews is fantastic, but I'm just concerned about it. Their line is good, and I think that will lead to some success. I think their plan of attack for offensively would still be the norm, except with a bit more passing. Defensively, it's going to be the normal Ravens defense. They have the same defensive coordinator, and it's just going to be how they attack every game. You stuff the run, put some good pressure. That's how it's always going to be. They're going to be 3-4. They're going to rely on Calais Campbell for pass rush, Wolf for run, Red Williams to help run. Maybe get some rotation with Manabuke. Maybe some pass rush in there with Odefe. Away. You know, get those players in there. I think it's a good defense. It's definitely a top 10 defense again. And this is kind of how I think their first plan of attack would be. And I don't know. I don't think this is going to be much different of a Baltimore team than the last 2 years. Lamar supposedly getting some more throws, and I think the improvement at J.K. Dobbins. Next is the Chicago Bears. And statistically, they relied a lot on David Montgomery the last 3 games. They definitely want to emphasize running the ball with David Montgomery. And that's going to continue to be the story. Their offense does not change much besides the selection of Justin Fields to be their backup and the selection of Tevin Jenkins. I do think Cole Kmet will have himself more of an explosion here. Jimmy Graham can probably still be Jimmy Graham. Anthony Miller is a questionable slot, but still pretty good. Marquise Goodwin is hasn't been good since his first year in San Francisco. Daz Newsome was questionable. Chris Lacey couldn't even make the Lions team. Riley Ridley has been a bust. Allen Robinson, I don't think wants to really be there, but he'll continue to play there and do well. So real only threats right now for the Bears confirmed are Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney, and Mooney is a good player. I don't think he's fantastic. So I think they're going to continue to rely on David Montgomery in their run game. I think even more than other years previous. Especially the selection of Khalil Herbert, I think they want to emphasize that game more. Their defense, I think, will be honestly the exact same, with Akeem Hicks being there, Khalil Max being there, Robert Quinn. Really, their defense hasn't really changed all that much, other than regression by trading away Kyle Fuller, and signing Desmond Trufant to replace him. But Jalen Johnson's going to be #1, and he had himself a really overrated year. But yeah, they're just going to be like every other team, I think. No different than the last couple of years. So Khalil Mack or Quinn will be used to take up double teams, and one of the other should try to get the sack. And Roquan Smith and Danny Trevathan will be used as run stuffing. Jalen Johnson, Trufant will hopefully, well, not hopefully, but they will try to play well. And they'll have the good safety tech of Gibson Jr. and Jackson. That's the video for today. I'll be doing how the Lions will attack these other teams right back tomorrow. See you guys later.